Today, I'm with Roseanna McCoy. Is that correct, Roseanna? Is that your name?
Yes, sir. My name is Roseanna McCoy.
And do you have a middle name?
No, sir. There's no need for a middle name.
No need?
No, sir.
What's your date of birth, Roseanna?
I was born March 21st, 1859.
Yeah. What kind of education do you have? What grade did you go to?
We didn't have grades when I went to school. We were in a one-room house, schoolhouse. And so when we got to where the teacher thought we were smart enough, she said you could go.
Oh. And what's some of the things that you studied in school?
Oh, we learned reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Arithmetic?
Yes, sir. You know where you cipher numbers and stuff?
Oh, you're saying arithmetic.
Yes, sir. Arithmetic.
Arithmetic, okay. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
My mom and pa, they had 16 children, 7 girls and 9 boys.
Wow, that's a large family.
Yes, sir, but we took care of each other.
Yeah. Did you grow up there on Blackberry Fork?
I sure did. I used to run the hills and play in the creek when I was younger until we got old enough to do chores, and the washing and the cooking and working in the garden.
Sure. I imagine you done canning with your mother and
all that. Sure did. That's how we survived.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what a lot of people want to know about if I'm going to interview you, and that's about this fella, John Hatfield. You familiar with him?
Why, I sure am.
Yeah. And I guess you and John were lovers?
Oh, law, yes, sir. He was my first beau. He was my one true love, and only love.
Yeah. What about, when did you guys meet?
Well, I guess you could say we met at the election ground.
Yeah, and you just took up with them, started liking them right off?
Not really. Not at first. He was like a fungus. He kind of grew on you.
Yeah, kind of grew on you?
Yes, sir.
But ultimately you fell in love?
Oh, yes, sir. He won my heart.
Yeah.
And I think I won his.
Sure. And what happened between your parents? Did you all, you were going to get married, or what was the deal there?
Oh, yes, sir. We told our parents that we loved each other and was wanting to get married, but they wasn't having nothing to do with it.
So you just declared it?
When we were out in public and we were walking around, we would tell anybody who would listen to us.
Sure.
We were going to get married.
And back in those days, as long as you declared it in public that you were going to be husband and wife, that was good enough.
It sure was. It was good enough.
So you two
We were happy.
You two thought you were married.
We sure did.
Or living as married.
Sure did.
And you got pregnant, had a baby girl?
I did. We had the most beautiful baby girl ever was.
Yeah.
Her name was Sarah Elizabeth. I named her after Ma. And then I named her after my Aunt Betty Elizabeth. That's where I stayed when I got pregnant.
Sure.
And had Sarah Elizabeth. So I thought it'd be fitting if I named her after my Ma, Sarah, and then my Aunt Betty Elizabeth.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about...
let me tell you this.
Okay.
One thing about Sarah Elizabeth, she only lived 8 months, and then we lost our poor baby girl, Sarah.
Sure. Okay.
That really broke my heart.
And she's buried there up on the hill from Uriah and Aunt Betty's house?
She is. They let me bury her up there so I could come and visit with her whenever I wanted.
Sure. And after that, you moved to Pikeville?
Oh, yes, sir. I moved in with Perry and Martha Klein. Do you know them?
No.
He was a famous attorney.
Yeah.
I moved in there to help with their children and take care of their children.
Sure. So, how about, let's talk about 1882 at the election ground fight between when Ellis and Hatfield was stabbed and shot. You remember that? Were you there?
I was there, but sir, I wasn't there to see it with my own eyes. I just heard things of what people were saying, how it went down, what went on, and how it happened.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what did you hear? Who'd you hear it from?
Well, I heard it from from Jim, my uncle.
Okay.
He was telling us all about it because he happened to be closer than I was to the situation there, and so he says that Tolbert got in a fight with Elias over a fiddle.
Yeah.
Because he owed him money.
Sure.
And he should have paid. That was only fair.
Sure.
But they got into a fight. You know how boys are. They fought. And then after Tolbert whooped Elias, Ellison stood up and said he wanted to take a fight.
Yeah.
Get in this fight. There wasn't no nary need, but nothing doing. He wanted to get in the fight. So Tolbert and him got into a fight. Ellison, I heard, he pulled his pocket knife and it closed on his hand or something, and then he dropped it. Not for sure though, that's just what people were saying.
Sure.
And then he got grabbed at Tolbert and was beating the far out of him. Picked up a rock and was going to knock him in the head. And then Farmer, he come up and shot him.
Sure. Sure. And they took Tolbert and Farmer, and they took Randall Jr., didn't he?
They did take Randall Jr. Poor old Randall Jr. He was plumb innocent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the story's always been, that that Palmer had shot him, and that William had come up there to help separate them, but William didn't really do nothing except try to separate. But in all the frenzy, when it was all over with, that the Hatfields grabbed the wrong boy and they grabbed Randall Jr. instead of William.
They sure did. They sure did. And they tied those boys to pawpaw trees. And they murdered them 3 boys.
Sure. Sure. Well, how did that affect yours and Johnson's relationship? I guess it was already over by then. Your Pauls had already stepped in 81 or so and broke that off, I guess.
Yes, sir. We just couldn't stay together. Nary one of our Pauls would hear tell of it.
Yeah.
So we just had to go our own ways, and it kind of broke my heart because he was my first love.
Sure.
But that's where I was pregnant with Sarah Elizabeth. Then I went to Uncle Uriah's and stayed with him and Aunt Betty.
Sure. Were you at the cabin when the Hatfield gang set fire to it and killed the other 2?
No, they killed Alifair and the poor old Calvin. They killed him and then burned a house down and beat Ma. They broke her arm and her hip and then put a big old hole in the side of her head.
Really?
Yes, sir. Then Paul, he took her to Perry Klein's.
Sure.
So I could help nurse her back to health as best I could, while he went looking for another place to live.
Sure. So did you and your father ever make up?
Why, sure we did. Blood's thicker than water, you know.
Sure. What do you think about, well, let me ask you this, Roseanna. A lot of people says that yours and Johnson's love affair was a lot like that of Romeo and Juliet. What do you think about that?
Who are they? Did they live on Pond Creek or up Blackberry?
No, they, Romeo and Juliet, that was 2 famous people in love, but okay.
Oh, shoot, I never heard of them.
Yeah, well, okay. How about, what did you think about Devil Ants and the Hatfields during that time that you were dating?
Shoo, those Hatfields, they were ornery. They were real mean. And if you don't dare speak out against them, because if Ants got mad at you, there wasn't nothing doing that he got even with you.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this: how do you think the hard feelings and the feud got started? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, during the Civil War, Ants Hatfield and his gang, his family and friends, they up and ran off. And my Uncle Uriah, he got shot. And then he was captured. And then my pa got captured. Anybody that wasn't killed got captured.
Sure. So you're thinking the Civil War, and when Devil Ants deserted, that caused a lot of the hard feelings?
It sure did.
Sure.
It sure enough did.
Yeah.
Then my Uncle Harmon, he got killed. He was killed in 1865.
Sure.
That's why my pa, though, did you know he was a prisoner of war?
Sure.
So that's when my Uncle Harmon got killed. Then Ellison, he up and stole 4 pigs off an Asa Peter, McCoy, that is.
Sure.
Have you heard of him?
Sure.
Okay, he stole 4 pigs off of him. And then Floyd Hatfield, he stole a pig off my pa.
Sure.
And of course, my 3 brothers, they were murdered when they were tied to those pawpaw trees.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the killing of my brothers and everything else kind of started the feud.
That was the breaking
That
point.
was the start of the
That's when it
trouble.
went from hard feelings to a feud.
Yes, sir. That's a hard thing to get over, sir.
Sure.
All the stuff that was happened to me and my family.
Well, you had your cousin Jeff. They shot.
Poor old Jeff was swimming across the creek trying to get away from him. And they shot him and killed him.
Sure. And then I guess the cabin massacre was just a.
That was
just topped it off.
That sure was. There wasn't nothing like that. My poor old family, they've been through the ringers.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of my family members to them Hatfields.
Yeah. West Virginia Hatfields were pretty rough.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll probably distinguish there between West Virginia because on the Kentucky side, of course, you had Preacher Ants and his family that baptized most of Randall's. Most of you all
Preacher
married.
Ants was very nice.
Sure.
We got along good with him.
Of course. Of course. Well, Roseanne, I want to thank you for your interview and talking to us.
Well, shucks, don't mention it.
A lot of people over the years have had questions about you and your life and things that happened to you. And a lot of people, there's plays that goes on nowadays and they portray you and Nancy and different ones as people that there's no reason to portray some of you like they do. And
No, sir, we're trying to be good, honest, hard-working people.
Sure. And that's what some of us have always said. It's too easy to portray people badly. Portray them good unless you know something for a fact.
Well, I'll just tell you, John Hatfield was my only true love.
Sure.
That broke my heart when we couldn't be together. And then we had our baby, Sarah Elizabeth, and that broke my heart. Because we lost our baby. She was only 8 months old, as you know.
Sure.
And then with everything else going on, I mean, we just didn't have a chance.
Well, do you know that in the end, Johnsy married 3 other times? He was married 4 times. And in the end, Johnsy is buried beside his mom and pa.
Just like me.
Just like you.
I'm married.
You're buried.
I'm buried, sorry. Getting tongue-tied there, I guess. Getting in a hurry. I'm buried beside my mom and pa, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always thought, my wife and I've always thought that was true love when both of you are buried beside of your ma's and pa's. And I think
yes,
that's
sir.
And you're buried beside of your father, you know, your mom and dad also, your mom and pa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that tells the tale as far as the hard feelings between you and your father, that it was eventually worked out. And
Why, sure. Blood's thicker than water, you know.
Sure. Well, Roseanne, thank you for your interview and talking to us.
Well, thank you. I had fun.
We've got an interview coming up with Nancy, your cousin. I know you and her used to be real close and probably varied off a little bit after she married Johnsy.
Yes, sir. That was hard.
We've got an interview coming up with Randall, your dad, with Devil Ants. So it's going to be some interesting interviews coming up over the next couple of weeks. And we're going to enjoy talking to everybody.
All right. Nice talking to you. You have a great day.
You too.
you're having a great day. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.